the digital age. Let's face it, it's 2025. While I love making handmade original artwork, man, sometimes you gotta go digital. We're making digital art this week, people. Let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to my studio. My name's Jillian and I'm an artist, and if you know me, I'm on a journey to make all new art for a tarot deck. And this week I decided to make a bunch of digital collages. So, what's up with digital collage? Well, look, honestly, unlike with the analog collage, where you have to worry about sourcing all the images and formatting them to the right scale and size and getting them printed out and doing all of that legwork beforehand and then hand cutting everything. Digital collage just allows you to instantly work with all of these different elements. You can drop things in to test them out like that. You can scale things and test out the scale of different things so easily. You can just play with all these elements and color changes too. And you can warp different elements in the composition. You can add an interesting texture overlay to stuff. Just generally, there's so much more weird freedom in the digital realm that I've always loved. And generally, you can just do a lot more things faster than you can with the analog. So it's a really fun way to make images. Another thing I kind of like about digital collage is that it has kind of a more clean, modern, sleek feel to it, more so than regular mixed media stuff does, because there's not really that paint texture. However, what I've been doing in these digital collages is I've been taking little painted elements from my pieces and putting them into the digital collage, so it kind of marries both worlds. Since the process is pretty quick, I decided to go digital for some of these minor arcana cards, and that's what we're working on this week. I can finish 2 or 3 digital collages in the span of a day, whereas if I'm doing a nice big 24 by 36 mixed media piece, it's gonna be about a week. It's gonna take several days. And so this is kind of me fast tracking the process of getting all these images finished for this deck. At a certain point, I was thinking I did want to do all of the images for this deck handmade original artwork, but then it started to dawn on me that not only was that really going to be time consuming, but it was also going to be space consuming, and I only have so much space in the studio, so digital it was, my friends. It's also going to be cool to have an interesting range of types of images that can kind of work together and complement each other and bring different vibes to the deck as a whole. Purely digital is awesome, and it's such a great way to play with different colors, different textures in real time, as well as different elements that you bring in, so you don't have to commit to a color palette before you're starting a painting or something like that and then just hope that it works out. You can really play with it in real time, which I absolutely love to do. Photoshop. So when I'm making digital collage artwork, I use Photoshop, and this is not a tutorial video, even though I've been using it for as long as I can remember, and these things are really innate to me. I still can't figure out how I would ever teach it to anybody, but I'm going to do my best to give some basic pointers on what this stuff is. So Photoshop used to be an actual thing that you bought. Remember CD-ROM installer shit? We used to install it onto our computers and we would have it for as long as our systems allowed it, maybe use it for years even. But of course now, like everything in this weird dystopian universe that we're living in, it's a subscription. So if you've never tried it and you want to try it, you can, use it as a subscription service. I think I pay $10 a month. It is what it is. That being said, it's a pretty annoying user interface, and it's got these icons for your toolbar on the side that look like they're out of Mac OS 1, and it's got this drop-down menu of all these different options of things that honestly, even I still have no idea what most of these things are for even. But I got my strategy, I've got my tools, and I know how to use them. For basic collage, all you really need to pay attention to that much is the move tool, the marquee selection tool, the magic wand selection tool, the lasso selection tool, and Command T to transform the size and shape of your image. That's basically it. So since I've been making a lot of 24 by 36 large scale real pieces, handmade pieces, and I'm trying to make a whole tarot deck, I'm realizing that I want probably all of my images to have the same aspect ratio so they can fit nicely on the type of card that I'm designing. So for the digital pieces in this Minor Arcana series that I'm going to be doing, I'm deciding to just make the Photoshop document same size, 24 by 36, 200 DPI. That's overly huge, but I figure if I ever do want to like get it printed out really big, then it's already to size and I don't need to worry about the image getting distorted. So once I've created my probably unnecessarily large document, I'm ready to go. Are you? Coming up with ideas, aka alt concepts. So since I'm working on a suit for my tarot deck, I not only wanted these images to all look like they're from the same universe, but I also wanted each sort of successive card to tell the story of the symbolism of flowers in this journey of growth and transformation and renewal. So flowers for me is like an earthy suit. It really represents these phases along the growth journey, the transformation, and the flower sort of being like a metaphor for what we want to nurture, what we want to grow into, what we want to bloom in the world. And that could be anything from like our creativity, financial stuff, just general abundance, love and relationships, connection to higher self, personal development, like whatever. So I wanted to use that symbol of the flower to tell that story. With this in mind, just in my phone, I basically began writing out what I thought might be the story of flowers, sort of thinking symbolically and really trying to figure out what is that story that I want to tell. Yeah, if I could tell a story in a visual metaphor just based on the things that I've learned and the experiences that I've had, that's what I was sort of doing. And then looking at the traditional tarot and the sort of numbers and themes that come up in those successive cards in that deck, I basically went through, thought of an image that would go with that from the story and paired that with the number, and that's basically how I got this imagery. It's pretty hard to describe because it was sort of like an inner, intuitive, introspective task, but it took a lot of time and reflection to sort of nail down, as well as like just thinking in symbols, which is sort of easier for me, but I was also trying not to be too literal, and I was trying to choose image ideas that would feel the most poignant for each card. You know, some people like to draw thumbnail sketches and whatnot before they bring their ideas into fruition, and I just basically write them down. And to me, when I go back to look at what I want to create, you know, the words are enough to trigger the response for what was in my mind's eye when I wrote this down. Sourcing images. So I've talked about this in previous videos, but I used to use all of my own source material, or like 90% of my own source material for my digital collages. I would photograph friends and models. I would like style the shoots and pay these people and like, you know, go out in the world and do all of this stuff and edit all the images, and it was really cool, but it was a lot of work. And now I have moved to a really remote place where I can't just walk out the street and meet somebody to photograph and do all that. It's just not a reasonable thing. Anyways, since I've moved and it's hard to, you know, arrange these shoots, I've started using mostly AI models for my pieces, and while it's convenient, it's not the best. So, y'all, like, there's a problem with the AI images, and yes, it's, you know, environmentally bad or whatever, and yes, it rips off artists, and yes, I'm aware of all of that, but the thing that bothers me most about it is that for whatever reason, in this age of influencers on TikTok and Instagram posting all of their photos with massive lip filler and weird noses that look like this, I'm sorry, unpopular opinion perhaps, all of the AI generated photos of women end up looking like this and this. And I don't want that. No matter how many times I say, I want a Victorian style vintage photo of a woman, or I want a 1970s natural beauty, or 1960s no makeup, blah, blah, blah. It always gives me big fat overfilled lips and this weird plastic surgery nose or something. I don't even know what they're doing to their noses that makes them like this, but I have to edit the crap out of every single one of these noses and lips, like liquefy tool to the max, where you push down the lips and you push down the nose and you reshape the whole face. And then you have to clone stamp away the the pixels that have been like dragged on top of the lip, and like it's just an entire mess, guys. And I don't know, when AI is going to catch up to the fact that normal people don't look like this and train their images on normal people, but apparently normal people aren't putting their freaking faces on the internet. So anyway, I do have a plan in the future to start using like real faces again, but also for now I'm still trying to use AI to some extent. However, I also just got a subscription to Raw Pixel, and I really don't like subscriptions, but this is basically like an image database where you can either search public domain images or free for commercial personal use images, or you can pay a fee per month and you can just download as much stuff as you can possibly download. And since I'm going to be doing a lot of digital collage for like a lot of these minor arcana cards, I just was like, all right, I'm going to pay for the service and we're going to download as many source material pictures as possible. The site's pretty cool. You can even search for PNG files specifically. And with those, if you're not familiar, it's sort of like a file where the subject or the object in the image is already pre-separated from the background. So all you have to do is open it in Photoshop, cut and paste, and it pastes in an already cut out image of the thing. It's pretty useful for collage. Yeah, so this website has like people, it has textures, it has mountain scenery, it has photographs, it has old vintage artwork. There's even one, I don't remember if it's the Smithsonian or some art museum or whatever, but they have like all these cool images of old artifacts. There's crystals on there. There's all manner of different things. So if you want collage material, I would say that's probably the best place to go, because I've really had a heyday looking around on there and getting inspired by all these different things they have to offer. So then basically, yeah, I spent a Saturday afternoon just like going through this website and downloading as many things as possible and then sorting them into folders on my computer so that once I'm in there making the collage art, and I think like, you know what? I think I downloaded a really good crystal the other day. I could just go in this folder, search around, and find one that I like that I can just drop right into the composition. Easy as pie. Easy as freaking pie. And for stuff that's not the PNG file, Photoshop now has this AI tool called Remove Background. For mine, it's up in like the top right-hand corner. And it's pretty cool because you can instantly like remove the background of something and then copy paste it into your composition. However, it's not always that good. We're on the cutting edge of technology, people. Sometimes the stuff is good, but not good enough. And that's what we're dealing with here. So yeah, let me show you what I made this week. What I made this week, aka the artwork. Yeah, y'all, as you know, it's the suit of flowers we're working on. And if you'll recall, we already did the ace. And that came out looking really, really cool. It's an awesome card and I love it. We've got the ace, we've got her. But what's next? Well, of course it'd be the 2. I don't know, I guess I can count. The 2 is a really cool card, man. She's really neat. This is so Fae folk inspired. There's this beautiful balance to it. I love that I kind of have one of these flowers sort of down below and one kind of above, which as above, so below, as within, so without. It's telling you about this beautiful balance that you're in, where you have just enough right now, and it's really working for you. There's calm there. There's peacefulness there. I love that I added these rainbow drips down her face. That was sort of just done with the paint brush tool. If you look at the stems, this was fun. I lifted these painted stems from another piece that I did this year and just collaged them into the composition with this. And love how that looks. I like that it's painty and it's chunky and it adds just a little bit of something different to the piece. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I used some, whatever it is, Smithsonian kind of, I don't even know what that is. It looks kind of like a plate, but like it's an object. It's like a jewelry piece, and yeah. And I didn't know what to do with the 3 yet, so I skipped it for now. I'm still trying to figure out how I want that image to look. I knew that the 4 needed to be something a little bit wonky, a little bit like, ooh, something's starting to feel not quite right, which would then compel you to start really in earnest on this growth and transformation journey. We've got this glitchy flower girl, and this one was really cool. I found a different website where I've never even heard of this. I think it's called Creative Market or Creative Marketplace. There's all these different people that, if you don't feel like searching for your own stuff on Rawpixel, just go on this website, and they have tons of different people who have created like downloadable packs of pre-cut out collage items or source material that you can just get. And it's more expensive, but it's kind of worth it. I found one that had glitchy, melty flowers. I just knew I have to have this. And so I got the pack of the images, and there's like hundreds of images in there. Like, you'll never be able to use all of these in your life. But it's a pretty cool resource, so definitely check that out. Yeah, I wanted this one to be a little bit melty, whereas in the 2, the as above, so below was sort of about a peaceful balance and having sort of everything that you do need right now. This one is about as above, so below, like things are starting to feel a little bit glitchy. Something's not quite right. Something's kind of confusing. Something's got to give. Because I don't want to be swimming in this world of like confusion and drippy chaos. But you're sort of starting to notice that something's amiss, and maybe I need to start thinking about changing something. It's a cool picture. I like the purple. I love the drippy flowers. And yeah, I think she's pretty neat. Now this one, here's the 5. This one is pretty wild. There's a couple of my little like hand painted elements in this, and there's no figure. And in that way, it kind of feels a little bit too surreal for me. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. I want to make it look a little bit more like it fits into my visual universe than how it maybe looks, but it is really cool, and I guess I made it, so maybe it's fine. The original version of this card, so I'll put a picture of that too, was way more too surreal and didn't seem like it fit, so I actually added in this rainbow above the flower and a couple little hand-painted clouds that I dragged in from... I dragged them in, what the cat dragged in, he dragged in a rainbow. I dragged it in from some other pieces I've made, handmade, hand-painted, so I wanted to give it a little bit of an extra, like, I don't know, hand-painty element. But this is a cool card because it's really about that moment that you realize you have a lot of dead weight. You have a lot of dead limbs, dead branches that are needing to be trimmed off and pruned, either by yourself or by the gods, and in order to grow. And this is like a thing about gardening, right? If you trim off the dead stuff, the plant is more likely to be able to grow and expand in a beautiful way. And this is calling attention to that. Like, I think it's pretty cool in that way. You've got these dead, crusty flowers kind of coming out of this one, like, still standing poppy or peony or whatever it is. It's kind of cool. I loved how I added all these like stone and rock elements, that it's sort of like it's fertile ground and there's beauty there. Though it might feel really scary when you're like, oh shit, everything that I thought was working out is actually not, and I gotta get rid of some of this dead weight. People, ideas, mindsets that you have, habits, situations, just something's gotta be gotten rid of. And yeah, it's essential for growth. You can't reach your best version if you're still holding on to all this dead stuff. You're just gonna die along with it. Anyway, cool card. I might change it. We'll see. Now we go to the 6, and this was a really cool one. I did a lot of fun things with this one. So the desert hills in the background, I took several different photos of like a silk dress kind of in like a little pile to sort of simulate the look of like a desert dune. Then I took like images of natural stones similar to like the natural stones that you saw on the last card, and made that like an overlay layer, which is an option in Photoshop. If you take a layer and you double click on it, you can see in that first screen that opens up a drop down menu. I think it usually says like original or normal, and then you can drop down to overlay, and it basically like makes the texture of what's in front of it look like it's appearing on the shape of what's behind it. So I didn't actually know about this until a few days ago, so I'm like going crazy trying out this new trick. And yeah, I used that technique for all of like the hills in the background, and also for her dress that she's wearing, which is really fun. Anyways, though, this card is really an interesting one. It's sort of about like, after you've realized that something's gotta give and oh no, I gotta trim off this dead weight, you're going out into the wilderness, man. You're taking what little you do have left, what is good, and you're going into new uncharted territory. Like, you really have to, at a certain point, come face to face with the idea that like, maybe I have been sowing my seeds and trying to grow my garden in bad soil, all right? And you gotta go on a journey to find out where is better to plant your energy so that you can grow into the thing that you want to become. It's a cool image. I love it. I'm kind of interested in the fact that I used this little vintage lady that just happened to be in like a walking pose holding something. I was like, oh, well, that was cool. That's exactly what I wanted, and I found her. Pretty neat. And one other thing I'm doing with these is because it's sort of a story progression, I'm using a lot of the same flowers throughout the suit, but I'm like adding on one new one as the cards progress. That's kind of a fun little detail. It'll make a great card. And then the last one that I created this week is the 7 of flowers, and wow, I like this one a lot. This is an AI girl, but I love how she's the only one I haven't had to alter the lips and the nose for, because it came out looking pretty normal to my eyeballs, and the hand even kind of looked normal. So anyways, I like her because she's kind of modern. She's sort of like right here in the moment, and she's letting it all burn. Look, at a certain point, it becomes really obvious that, wow, almost everything that I've been basing me on, that I've been holding on to, like whatever I've made my entire personality, something's not right with any of it. And oh my God, maybe all of it has to go. Maybe there's a huge, great purge involved with this healing and transformation journey, you know? I've definitely experienced that. It was just thing after thing after thing that was like, oh yeah, that doesn't serve you. Sorry, it's gotta go. Oh, nope, that neither. It's gotta go. Until everything just seemed like it was burning up all around me, and it was freaking, it felt like a nightmare. And it was very upsetting to deal with, honestly. But all of that is so positive. It's so good. When you start to, I don't know, elevate into a new version of yourself, when you start to grow and change and expand into something better, into something that's a more positive and uplifting and just more powerful version of you, there's a lot of stuff that's just, it's gotta go. And very uncomfortable, but it's a beautiful place to be in, because the more that it's getting kind of minimalistically pared back, the more shit you just let burn into the stratosphere, the more room that you have to sow new seeds and start completely new with what you do still hold. She's got one flower there. She's got one flower that she's still holding that's not burning. And it's like, you have to come to this purest, like deepest part of yourself. That's the core. And maybe you're left with only that. Maybe it's only one thing that you have, but you know it so well that that's really the only thing that matters. And from there, you're ready to grow a nice garden, folks. So some of the stuff I use a lot of in my collages, I mean, the paint tool, you know, you can do a lot of weird blending stuff with that. You can, I don't know, explore the different brush tools. For some reason, the ones available to me keep changing. I don't know why that is. But sometimes there's good ones in there, folks. I still don't know what's going on with this like digital, like online version of Photoshop, but I use a couple of different color type tools that are kind of interesting. One is called Gradient Map, and even making like a gradient colored background. With that, if you click on the paint bucket tool, if you click and hold on the paint bucket tool, it takes you to an option to do like a gradient. And in there, you can then click up on the top little panel and select a few different colors to make a gradient out of. Then you can apply that to like the whole background of your canvas, or you can select like a certain area and gradient map inside of that. And it makes just like a color gradient. So you can also sort of change which direction you want it to run in. That's kind of a cool feature. Yeah, there's also a tool called gradient mapping, which is it takes those gradients that you were making, and you can it basically assigns a color to each like value in the image. So you could change all the colors of a flower to make it look real trippy, or a figure, or someone's hair. Like in the 2, I changed her hair from being like regular blonde color to being like this kind of green color through the gradient mapping. So that's a cool tool that you can use. Yeah, like I said, I used the layer overlay thing a few times in these pieces. That's a really neat thing. Yeah, like I said, not a Photoshop tutorial video per se, but those are some of the things that I use that if you want to try out Photoshop, maybe you'd find interesting. So I guess that's it, guys. We did it. We made some digital art this week. Yeah, I really like this digital stuff, and I'm glad that I'm getting back into doing some purely digital stuff too. I feel like I'm on a roll with these. I'm feeling like I'm hitting something pretty sweet, kind of better than the digital collages I was doing before, so pretty stoked about it. This wasn't the video I was expecting to make for you guys this week. I was expecting to be able to finish a really cool piece, 24 by 36 mixed media, but I started it actually about 2 weeks ago, and then I had day after day after day after day of like, it's house build stuff. And, you know, you got to be there with your subcontractors, and they're asking you all these questions about placement of this and measurement of that, and what's the light fixture and how does it place on the wall here, and like all like the nitty gritty. And we're doing an owner build, which basically means that we're not literally building it, because I can't freaking swing a hammer. Come on. We basically have hired there's a guy who is a subcontractor for like the concrete like foundation as well as like the framing, and he's really knowledgeable about all this stuff. He knows all the right guys, so we basically hired him as a project manager for the whole thing. And that way, like, he's got the expertise and we get to be sort of more involved with the process and the specificities of all of the stuff than it would have been if we would have just hired a general contractor to like slap the building up and whatever. So it's been amazing. It's also been really time consuming. Yeah, that's just one of the things that's been going on recently, that like there's so many things that you have to like give the final answer on and order the parts and like go order the appliances and go look at stone and tiles like 20 times. And wow, it's just a lot. This sort of interruption chunk of time plus like the continued kind of interruption of chunks of time, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to concentrate and bring that like full-fledged energy into the studio to finish this piece, so I'm just going to do the digital stuff and take on the interruptions of the house build right now. So yeah, I'm thinking next week I am going to be able to finish this one off, that big one, and it's really, really cool. So hopefully you guys will stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's pretty much it right now. Go in peace, spread joy, keep being awesome, and remember, life is but a lucid dream, baby. Mwah. If you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe. See you later.